Does it all seem like magic to you when the start screen appears on your monitor? Actually, the term booting comes from that little tab on the back of a boot called a bootstrap that helps you pull your boot on. Booting a computer is a term that refers to the process of powering on the computer and starting the operating system. The operating system is the program that makes all your software applications and hardware work together so you can do the work you want to do on your computer. Once you hit the power button, it's all automatic from there. The boot process loads the operating system into main memory or the random access memory, or RAM, installed on your computer. Now let's learn a little more about the boot process. When you push the power button, power is sent to a small bootloader program, which loads the computer's operating system. The bootloader is located in the cache memory. The cache memory is a portion of your RAM that is directly attached to the central processing unit, or CPU, which is the brains of your computer.
Right. Let's start. The first thing we need to discuss what will happen when you switch on the computer. අපි මුලින්ම කතා කරන්න ඕනේ computer එකට power දුන්නාම මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා. So when you switch on your computer, it will first of all check whether all the components are connected to the computer working. And then it loads the operating system. එතකොට අපි computer එකක් on කරපුවාම මුලින්ම ඒකට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන උපකරණ තියෙනවද කියලා බලනවා. මේක අපි කියනවා මේ process එකට we call it booting. Booting means starting up a computer. The booting instructions are stored on the ROM, we say, read-only memory. Right. So when you power up, CPU activates what is called BIOS. So here BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System, and then it will activate the very first program, which is called POST, Power On Self-Test. Right. So it checks all the hardware and confirm they're functioning properly, which means it will check if the keyboard is working, mouse is working, graphic card is working, and so on. If at least one of them is not working, then it gives you some beep sound. And මේ post කියන test එකේදී තමයි පරිගණකයට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන ඔක්කොම කොටස් වැඩ කරනවද කියලා අපි බලන්නේ. ඒතර බැරි වෙලාවත් එක කොටස හරි වැඩ නොකරොත් තමයි ඔය අපි සමහරලාට ඔය beep හඬවල් තියෙන්නේ. beep හඬ විදිහට අපිට ටෙක්නීෂියන් කෙනෙකුට decide කරන්න පුළුවන් කොතනද වැරද්ද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. Then after that, it will read what we call the master boot record in the boot drive, which means what to load in the computer. සමහර අපි පරිගණකවල තියෙනවා පුතේ operating system කීපයක්. ඒතර කෝකද ඉස්සෙල්ලම load කරන්න කියන selection එකක් තියෙනවා. අපි ඒකට කියනවා bootstrap loader කියලා. So some of our machines, we have both Windows and Linux, two different operating systems. So user has to select. So that comes with bootstrap loader. The bootstrap loader කියනකින් තමයි select කරන්න එන්නේ මොකක්ද අපිට ඕන operating system එක කියලා. Now once the computer loads the operating system, then that will load into the random access memory. The operating system එක RAM එකට load කරලා ඉවර වෙලා එතනින් නතර වෙනවා. The whole process is known as booting. අපි කියනවා booting කියලා කියන. එහෙම තමයි අපේ සාමාන්‍ය computer එක වැඩ කරන්නේ. So you need to know like what exactly happens here. Right. So then we have to talk about different types of software available, right? Basically software is what we call the instruction, instruction you give a computer to perform some activity. And there are many types of software. So we have system software mainly, and then we have application software. So in this lesson, we are mainly focused on the system software part, where we have three parts. We have operating system, we have utility software, and we have language translators. Software කියන එක අපිට අපිට දෙකකට කඩන්න පුළුවන්. System software කියලා සහ application software කියලා. ඒකිනුත් මේ පාඩමේ අපි වැඩියෙන්ම කතා කරන්නේ system software ගැන. ඒ යටතේ අපි කතා කරනවා operating system, utility software සහ language translators කියන එක. Then the next one is we call application software, which means you can use various software on top of operating system for different applications. So those are known as application software. So the software such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, even the games comes under application software. Right. Now let's look at more details about system software part. So as I told you, there are three types. We have operating system, then we have utility software, then we have language translators. So the basic functionality of the operating system is providing a user interface to the user, right? So functions of the computer utilize the function of the computer by managing hardware and software in it. So that's what the operating system does, right? So if you look at in detail how all these connects together, so you will see there are hardware, that's the computer made out of. We have mouse, keyboard, projector, and everything. And on top of that, we have system software to interact with the hardware. So you have things like operating systems and utility software, such as antivirus. And then on top of that, you are using various application software, right? So things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access comes under application software. So user interacts with through the application software to system software through hardware. So when using, communicates through all these different parts. Right. So the second component of system software is called utility software. So that actually supports the operating system activities. It helps to manage resources of the computer and provide some functionality. Now, for example, I told you antivirus is one such software. So it will protect from harmful, software, which we call viruses. Later on, we will have a separate lesson on what virus is. So basically, it will replicate itself and keep a copy to harm the computer. So to remove, we have to use utility software called antivirus software. It works against the viral activity. Another one would be like disk formatting. Formatting the word meaning you prepare the disk. When you purchase a disk, අපි disk එකක් පොතේ මිලදී ගත්තාම ඒක අපිට data දාන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට සකස් කරන්න. So to prepare the disk, we have to use something called formatting. You have to format it. Now, depend on where you are going to use, you have to use different formatting options. Again, අපි මේ disk එක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ Windows environment එක නම් we have to format it one way. අපි මේක පාවිච්චි Linux නම් we have to save it in another way. Are we going to use Mac operating systems then? Another way. Likewise, there are different formatting types. Right. Third one I told you about language translators. Now, one of the things you should know, the computer understands only binary. අපි කිව්ව පොතේ computer එකක් තේරුම් ගන්නේ එක බිඳුව විතරයි. it's a mathematical representation. Power තියෙනවා නැහැ කියන concept එක දිකට ගත්තාම අපි mathematically කියන 0 and 1 කියලා, which means binary. That's what exactly computer understand. But whenever we want to communicate, we cannot make use of binary. Now, for example, adding two numbers in binary, that means you have to represent the two numbers in binary as well as plus the operation is also in binary, which is very difficult for the humans. So therefore, later on, there are several other languages developed. This the language which uses 0 and 1 we call machine language. එතකොට අපි පරිගණකයට තේරෙන භාෂාව ගත්තොත් අපි කියන එක බිඳුව කියලා, එක බිඳුවකින් හඳුනන භාෂාවට අපි කියව යන්ත්‍ර භාෂාව, එහෙම නැත්නම් machine language කියලා. So it's very difficult to learn for humans. එතකොට සාමාන්‍ය කෙනෙකුට මේකෙන් වැඩ කරන්න හරි අමාරුයි. එතකොට ඒකට වඩා සරල තව තිබුණා assembly language as well as high level languages like Pascal and C, PHP and so on. එතකොට now what has happened to develop the program, humans uses high level programming languages and computer understands machine language. ඒක නිකන් හරියට අපි භාෂා දෙකක් දන්න කෙනෙක් කතා කරන හදනවා වගේ. උදාහරණයක් රෂියන් සහ සිංහල. අපි සිංහලෙන් කියවට රුසියානු මිනිස්සුෙකුට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. රෂියන් භාෂාවෙන් කියවහම අපිට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. So then we need some kind of a translator. We need like Russian to Single to Russian. So likewise, computers also, we need converters for different languages. To convert high-level programming language into machine language, we need different language translators. Those are called assemblers, compilers, interpreters. We will discuss the differences later on. For the time being, so there comes under language translators. හොඳයි. එහෙනම් පුතේ අපි මේ වෙනකන් කතා කරේ සිස්ටම් software එකේ තියෙන කොටස් තුන. ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් operating system එක තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ utility software තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ language translators තියෙනවා. Right? ඒ ටික මතක තියාගන්න. So that part actually we covered the system software. Then the next one is we have to have application software, which means we will use various software for accomplish different tasks, right? Word processing, spreadsheets, database, games, web process, all comes under application software, right? So that's about the software in general. Now let's try to understand the importance of operating system, right? So as we have already seen, the software facilitates the interaction from the user to the hardware, right? So we have the user, then we have application software, then we have operating system, then we had the hardware. So that's how human may interact with the hardware. So let's look at several operating systems available. Now what we have is Windows, right? So let me just show you like my machine. So I have Windows 10. So for example, let me share my screen. This is my desktop, and then you can click. So it's actually tile interface because it's Windows 10. So how do you know? You have to go by go to this PC, and if you right click and if you get properties, now it says that the computer is Windows 10, right? And the type of operating system is Windows 10 Home. So that's the version what I actually have installed in my machine. Then other system information is also given here. So it's ASUS computer, which has about 1.8 gigahertz, Core i7 10th generation, and it's 64-bit operating system. So information is there, but mainly our focus is Windows 10. So that's the latest operating system. But if you look at the different Windows versions available, right, there are many versions, Windows versions, right? Can any one of you tell me, write in the chat, so what was the first version of Windows? Yes, what was the first version? Achira? අපි පුතේ අවධිය කියලා කියන්නේ. So 10, we have started with usually 1.0. So we had Windows 1.0. So for example, let me show you in the Wikipedia, different versions available. So the right now what we have is Windows 10. And before that we had Windows 8.1, Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows Vista, Windows XP, Windows Me, with called Millennium in 2000, Windows 2000, Windows 98, Windows 95, Windows 3.1, and then you will see Windows 1. So that's how the Windows progresses. So there are some mobile versions as well. Now, for example, although it's not that popular, so early days for mobile phones and tablets also we have used Windows. Some of the Windows versions also could be installed in mobile as well as in tablets. Right. So that's about the Windows operating system. I think you already know about the Windows operating system. And then we have Apple. I hope that you have heard about the Apple computers, especially Macs, right? So there are many different types of Mac computers are available, starting from MacBook Air, very thin laptop, right? And then it's called Air Light, and then you have it's quite popular for graphical applications, especially in graphic editing as well as movie editing. We are using Mac operating systems, right? And there you have a lot of graphical support which accelerate graphics, so you can feel that true 3D experience you can have with Apple computers. So Apple එක ගොඩක් පුතේ ජනප්‍රියයි වීඩියෝ එඩිටිං වගේ කට්ටිය අතර ගොඩක් graphics පැත්තට enhance කරලා තියෙනවා. The operating system එකට අපි කියන්නේ Mac operating system එකේ. මේකෙත් පුතේ විවිධ වර්ග තියෙනවා. මම අර කලින් කිව්වා වගේ MacBook Pro ටිකක් ලොකුයි මේක. We can have professional work, and then Imac. This is the newest one with a very large screen, like a all-in-one. Then we have Mac Mini, so a small box like Mini, right? Can connect into any monitor, keyboard and mouse. And then we also have other computers where it supports Mac operating systems, right? So that's about the Apple. Let me share the screen too. Right. That is Mac operating system. And then we have Linux. We say Ubuntu, but Ubuntu means Linux operating systems. So if you go to Linux operating system, If you go to Linux, you will see there are a lot of distributions available. So Linux actually developed by a person called Linus Torvalds, a Finnish guy. පිල්ලන්තය කියල පුතාලා අහලා තියෙනවා නම් එකේ ලිනස් ටෝවර්ස් කියලා කෙනෙක් යාගේ යුනිවර්සිටි ඉන්නකොටත් තමයි යා මේ ලිනක්ස් කියන ඔපරේටින් සිස්ටම් එක ලියලා තියෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ ලිනක්ස් කියන ඔපරේටින් සිස්ටම් එක එක්ක ඊට අදාළ software එකට එකතු කරලා තමයි distributions හදලා තියෙන්නේ. right? software bundle කියලා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර දැන් Ubuntu කියලා කියන්නේ Linux distribution එක. ඒ කියන්නේ Linux kernel එකත් එක්ක ප්‍රධාන වැඩසටහනත් එක්ක වැඩසටහන් ගොඩක්. So there are many Linux distributions. There are many Linux distributions. Let me show you like some of them. Let me share in the screen. Okay, here are the Linux distributions. We have Ubuntu, Fedora, Arch, Kubuntu, Mandriva, and then I don't know how to pronounce this. So there are various Linux distributions available, right? So it comes for different purposes as well. Now, for example, some Linux distribution excel that hardware repair. Hardware වැඩ කරන්න නැති වුණොත් පුතේ repair කරන්න Linux distributions පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඒ වගේ. දැන් Ubuntu කියන එක නම් ගොඩක් වෙලාවටම Windows වගේම බොහොම kit වෙ යනවා. You will look and feel is the same, right? Ubuntu කියන එක ගත්තාම operating system එකත් ඒ වගේ. Some of our machines we had this. If we can get back to physically, I will go back and show you them. Right. So that's about the Ubuntu, but you need to remember it comes from the Linux operating system. Then we have Android. We have Android operating system. So robot-like. So for all our mobile phones nowadays, yes, we have Android, right? And then this is actually developed by Google, again based on Linux kernel, right? It's based on Linux kernel. So again, open source, but it's a proprietary one, right? And there are a lot of flavors. Versions ගත්තොත් so list of versions images වලින් ගියොත් so there are different names given මේ කැමවල නම් තමයි තියෙන්නේ නරක වෙලාවක මම පොතලට පෙන්නන්න යන්නේ so different versions are there. Yes, so there are different versions starting from gingerbread, eclair, donut, cupcake, right? And then you start with alpha, beta, likewise. And then we have also honeycomb, ice cream, jelly bean, Kit Kat, lollipop, marshmallow, nugget. Likewise, there are many versions of Android. So there are a lot of Android versions are there. So let me look at another different graphics, how things were evolved with the Android. Yes, start with alpha, beta. So it says A, B, C. After C, it's they came up with the food items. It's cupcake, then D, donut, then eclair, F, then G, gingerbread, honeycomb, ice cream, and jelly bean and Kit Kat. The latest one, what is it? So let me see the latest one. We have the latest version. Let me open image only. There's different versions are there. After that, what we said, jelly beans, Kit Kat, lollipop, and then marshmallow, nugget, Oreo, and pie. It's version 9. And finally, they have changed to Android 10. Right after that, they have said the Android 10. So these are the different versions available. Now, when you talk about this operating system, you have to think about their price as well. Now, if we start with the Windows, it's not free, right? Windows operating systems, you have to pay for it. We say commercial. So Windows operating systems, it's commercial and it's proprietary, which means you don't know what is inside Windows. Apple, again commercial, again proprietary. Ubuntu, on the other hand, it's free, which means you don't have to pay for it. Anytime you can download the latest version and you can install. And also it says open source. Open source means anyone can see how the operating system written. And that is also possible. Android, yes, again it's free and open source. So likewise, there's another version we call Huntan Linux. You can go to Huntan and check. So let me quickly go to Huntan. I don't know whether this is working. Yes, Huntan.org. Yes, still working. So let me share the screen. So this is Huntan Linux. So it still is there. Developed here. So that is also free and open source, and anyone can actually create different Linux distributions. Okay පුතේ එහෙනම් අපි අදට පුතේ මෙතනින් නතර කරමු. ලබන සතිය අපි එහෙනම් එතන ඉඳන් ඉතුරු ටික කරමු තියරි ටික. මේ වෙලාව කමක් නැහැ නේද පුතාලට?